Following almost 2 weeks of not seeing any illegal migrant boats coming into Dover after the announcement of the Rwanda plan, we have seen over 600 illegal migrants coming into the country over the last couple of days. And we're going to explain the reason behind this. Yep, as predicted on this channel, the bubble has been burst. That around 10 days, a period of time that we didn't have any boats after the Rwanda plan was announced, they're now back. And they accelerated massively. Now, the whole reason behind this was that, as we said on this channel, expect kind of zero boats or very, very limited for a while. And then it's going to come back. Main point of it is that speaking to people I have in Dover who know the links between the smugglers in France and some of the corrupt local authorities in France, there was a bit of a pause to see the reaction from the UK government. So until 19th and 20th of April, as you can see on the graph on the left, they wanted to kind of see what's happening to those migrants. Are they still being sent to the 4-star hotels, or are they being sent directly to Rwanda or some sort of facility, temporary facility? Then they realized, well, waited about 10 days, realized, no, it's still the same system. The Rwanda plan has not been triggered fully yet because, you know, it's bureaucratic. They have to wait time, right? They have to wait some time. Now, what they're doing, it's been accelerated. It's going to be even worse for now because the smugglers are selling their services. They're going to send more migrants quickly. They're rushing it so that they get here before the Rwanda plan is triggered, in the hope that if they arrive now, they won't be included in the numbers. Because there's a massive backlog anyway in terms of the queue. They can't send everyone who's coming in new, as well as thousands and thousands of people who come, especially since 2020. So they're hoping that if they send their clients and their customers in now, as soon as possible, they could get away with it. It's quite smart business, obviously. But you know, the government needs to have to. It's good that we have the Rwanda plan in place, but they also have to consider this. What are they going to be doing with this situation? And we finally have some evidence, thanks to Nigel Farage, have been around the English Channel. We've been talking about the migrants who hide their identity. They throw away their phones, and they just want to make sure that they lie about who they are. If the people on the left say they are genuine asylum seekers, they got nothing to hide. If you have nothing to hide, then why do you do this? Yeah. Also, stop polluting. It's not good for the environment, guys. The issue is, where are the women and children? Where are the vulnerable? You know, the elderly, the people who actually are in need. Why is everybody young, male, and healthy? Interesting, really interesting. We call this economic migrants. Now, they're not to say that, you know, there are like categories because they're not human or they don't matter. You know, that people are still in need, right? Economic need. And we would say that, you know, if we were from some sort of country that's not really, you know, in the best shape, there will be a lot of people who would say, well, I want a better life, right? But if they don't respect the process of getting into a new country, do you really expect them to respect the new country? From day one, you've illegally entered, you've broken the law. Are you going to really appreciate the system? That's the main question. And there has been a lot of backlash. Now, Tom Hunt was one of the sound conservative MPs, a backbencher from 2019, and a good friend of mine. He's come on Mike Graham's show on Talk TV to say that this issue, it actually, as we've said so many times, undermines the genuine refugees, and something needs to be done about this.
Because actually their actions, the actions of young single men, are directly working against the interests of some of the most vulnerable people actually fleeing areas of conflict. Women and children from Ukraine, for example.
Yeah.
These individuals are taking up capacity in the system, and they are working against the interests of genuine refugees. And they are undermining our border security. We don't know who they are. We don't know whether they're a security threat or not. You know, I do not have a huge amount of sympathy for these individuals.
Now, that's the key point that Hunt said during that interview, that he has no sympathy. And it's very politically incorrect, right? Now, even you and I can't say it, right? Let alone a politician. So I'm glad that he's brave enough to publicly say he's got no sympathy, because out of context people on the left will see it differently. Oh, you don't like humanity. That's not what he's saying. He's saying that the part of the interview was about Rwanda. He was saying that those who are kicking off Rwanda, why Rwanda? It's safe. It's a normal country now. There are issues in every country, and he said that even if there were some issues, which they're not really, that the priority between being worried about things being imperfect in Rwanda and the weather, compared to a priority which is our own national security and national identity, he said, I got no sympathy. I will prioritize Britain and our national security. That's the key point. And also we had Tony Smith, who is a former chief of the UK Border Force. He's one of the good ones, but he's no longer in charge. And he came on Julia Hardbrewer's show on Talk TV and said that firstly there will be 100,000, around 100,000 migrants coming by the end of this year, which is a new record, but also said about why uncontrolled immigration is a bad idea.
There's going to be all kinds of people coming on your show, if you'll have them, to tell you we need open borders.
Yeah.
We need to let everybody into this country. Let's abolish the border force. Let's not have a border. But you've just told me, and I mean, you're probably a better gauge of public opinion than I am. In 50 years in this business, I've never yet worked for any government of any colour that has advocated open borders and effectively...
Now, that's the key point. Both centre-left, centre-right governments, red and blue, Tory and Labour, publicly, as parties and governments, have never advocated for open borders or uncontrolled immigration. Why? Because they know that they will lose. Having said that, they will never put in their manifestos. But you guys remember Tony Blair's government, Gordon Brown's government, especially the 2000s, they could never publicly come and say open the borders. But the policy was basically uncontrolled immigration, mass migration. And it's not just legal mass migration, but also illegally as well. Tony Smith is absolutely spot on. The government can't, they're not even brave enough to come and advocate for this because they know that the country is not ready or never going to be ready for uncontrolled migration. But why? That's why.
Effectively, if we allow this to continue, that's what we've got. We've got open borders. And immigration's okay if it's controlled, Julia, but when it becomes uncontrolled, and this is uncontrolled immigration, it does become dangerous and it will fuel community tension. So I really, really hope that the Home Office can deliver this, and I'm sure they're going to make a good fist of it.
Don't we all hope that? Tony Smith, former head of the UK Border Force, thank you as always for joining us.
Well, yeah, I mean, we can only hope that the Home Office do something about this and they're not as incompetent as they usually are, but also as rebellious as they usually are, because the other obstacle we're dealing with is in the Home Office. A lot of people, the civil servants, are either going to go on strike or they're going to find ways, some loopholes to block these plans. And those guys should definitely be fired. No sympathy when it comes to the kind of wet left-wing civil servants who are against their own job and British national security issues. So we're going to come back. We're going to have a couple of more updates for you guys. Subscribe to the channel. I'm Tousi and we are the media.